welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com. Hello, beautiful people of Steelers Nation. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Noah Strackbine, joined every Tuesday and Thursday by my main man, Donnie Droon. Donnie, I just ate a bunch of spicy sushi. I'm definitely going to be sweating by the end of this podcast, just like the Pittsburgh Steelers have been sweating all week in Southside at OTAs. We got plenty to talk about. We're going to start with the GM, but first, got to remind everybody to go subscribe to our YouTube at youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. And as always, go use our promo code at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. It's a little rainy out here. It was beautiful all week. It was a great way to get sunburned. I got a nice glasses tan. You got to see it. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm great, man. Triple digits here in Phoenix, so the apocalypse is officially here for the summer. So it's officially indoor season for Bonnie Bruin.
For Bonnie Bruin?
Bonnie Bruin.
Who's Bonnie Bruin?
It's my alter ego.
When is the next time it's going to drop to want to step outside digits in Arizona?
Probably like October.
Oh my gosh. Why do people live there, man? Go live in seasons. People overlook the seasons.
It was supposed to be cheap until everything else started like going up around the country. And then people from California came up and bought like a bunch of real estate out here in Phoenix. So that like skyrocketed the Phoenix real estate market. A lot of old people live out here just because it's like easier on their like joints and stuff, and it's like an extreme like dry heat. There's like a huge retirement community probably like 20 minutes away from here where like old people just drive around in golf carts to like literally everywhere. It's their own little like sanctuary, I guess. It's like, dude, it's this giant retirement community. It's called Surprise, Arizona. Yeah.
That's awesome. I actually might look into that because my joints already don't work, so maybe a couple of years. But that's a good transition into somebody who just retired, Kevin Colbert, obviously, replaced by Omar Khan, and reportedly will be assisted by Andy Weidl out of the Philadelphia Eagles. Surprising hire, even though from the beginning, Omar Khan seemed to be, like that guy for years. Omar Khan was like, this is going to be the guy that replaced Kevin Colbert. This is going to be the guy that replaces Kevin Colbert. Hit a point where Kevin Colbert was leaving and everybody started talking Brandon Hunt's going to replace Kevin Colbert. And then boom, it was Omar Khan. Did you see it coming? I haven't asked you about your thoughts yet. Well, what were you thinking when you saw the move? At 10 o'clock at night, let me announce that one.
Yeah,
News broke at
really.
10 p.m. as I tucked myself into bed.
The Omar Khan hire wasn't super surprising. I know a lot of people, including all Steelers, Derek Bell included, kind of wanted Brandon Hunt to be the guy, and like understandably so, because the way a lot of things are trending, you want more of like a very like scout-driven background whenever hiring these sorts of people. I didn't foresee them taking on an assistant GM, which apparently, according to Mark Caboli, is the first time the Steelers have ever had an assistant GM now.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Can't confirm
that was news to me. Replacing Colbert was always going to be a tough task. You really just like it's hard to replace a guy who really established himself, and so that's why everybody had thought the Steelers were going to go somewhere within the organization. It was just a matter of whether they preferred a scouting guy like Brandon Hunt or a cap guy like Omar Khan, and ultimately Omar Khan got that job. Not that he doesn't have extensive experience with scouting, because he did kind of dabble in like I think his official title was like pro director of like scouting in like the like early 90s. So it's been like 20 years since he's really kind of like dove into that role. But bringing on Weidl, I thought was probably a good move too, just to make sure you have two very, very bright minds in terms of free agency and cap space, and in terms of finding, players, whether it be on the free agent market or in the NFL draft. With Khan, the salary cap's only going to go up, and that's only going to further complicate things. So to retain a guy like him and a guy that we have seen offseason after offseason continually create more cap space for the Steelers to work with, I thought was very important. I do have a couple notes on Andy Weidl that I found super interesting while preparing for the pod. He took over for Joe Douglas in Philadelphia, and a couple years ago, he was boosted to vice president of player personnel, which basically means he's in charge of getting everybody the Eagles need to get. He was mainly responsible for the 2021 and then this most recent 2022 draft. And I was looking at the drafts, and the Eagles only had, I think, like 5 picks in his last draft, And I was thinking to myself, what could really change? Like, what is Weidl going to bring to Pittsburgh that the Steelers already couldn't get in a guy like Colbert and a guy like Khan? No, the last 2 drafts where Weidl has like really been in charge of the Eagles and what they're doing, they've taken at least 2 linemen, whether offensively or defensively, in the first 3 rounds in back-to-back years. We've yet to see 2022 play out, but in 2021 they had 9 picks in the 2021 draft. 7 of those 9 picks played in 14 or more games, and then the only 2 other guys that didn't were 6-round picks. So those are 2 things that I think you really love to see. One, the importance of the trenches, which is something the Steelers are going to need to ingest heavily in the next couple of years on both sides of the ball, and then getting the most out of the guys that you were drafting after the first round. Because how many guys do you see drafted like late day 2, early day 3 that just like really don't see the field? Weidl, at least in his first swing at bat in 2021, got a lot, whether it be special teams, offensively or defensively, got a lot out of the guys he took. And then 2022, he moved up 2 spots for Jordan Davis, and then he got A.J. Brown. So like those decisions, I am a huge fan of. And so like this really leads me to believe that we might see a little bit of a different approach, a more aggressive approach by the Steelers moving forward, which is I'm all for it.
Yeah, I like the aggressive approach. I didn't know that about him in the trenches, so I do like that, obviously. I think Weidl was a good move. My thoughts were somewhat the same, but a little different. I thought that him and Khan complement each other very well. Mm-hmm. Khan's obviously the salary cap guru. I mean, Weidl worked with Bill Nunn. Doesn't get any better than that when it comes to scouting. So they go hand in hand. I feel like you don't miss a beat because Kevin Colbert was great in a million different ways, and it's impossible to replace a Hall of Fame GM. But what Kevin Colbert really did best was he never took a day off. He was always real hands-on. The guy, I mean, he missed the annual owners meeting in his last ever season, an event that, you get a lot of work done, but truthfully, it's an event. Like, you're chilling in Florida. Who doesn't want to be chilling in Florida? What did he do? He went and scouted quarterbacks to go find his team a quarterback. He spends a lot of the offseason at pro days, at the combine, at all of that stuff. And I just think that you can't miss that. And I think Weidl's the perfect thing for that. I thought that Brandon Hunt would have been just as good as an assistant GM. I don't know why he didn't get the job, but it's a loss for the Steelers, but one that you had to make, I guess.
Yeah, so it seems like his time at Pittsburgh is kind of coming to a close, right? Like, especially with him getting like multiple interviews like throughout the league. Maybe he was holding off until waiting to find out whether or not he got the Steelers job to accept any of the other ones. So like if he took another role within the next week, I would not be surprised at all.
No, he's gone. He's gone. I would imagine he either ends up in Buffalo or Philadelphia. I've heard rambles that it's going to be Philadelphia, an assistant GM job there. That's totally cool with me. He deserves it. I thought he deserved the Steelers job. That being said, I'm not upset about the direction that they went with it. And to your point about the trenches, if Weidl could come in here, fix the Steelers' offensive line, that's a win. That's a huge, huge win that we've needed. They've needed for years.
1,000%. And like one thing that can't be overlooked too, Khan immediately steps in and has 2 major deals to negotiate between Deontay Johnson and Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yep. Yeah, which, he's probably already been working on Minka's, and that's not going to change, which is good. But he has a challenge. I like that challenge, Let's see what he does. Because we both know that he's going to get the job done on both of them if they decide to resign both of them. Those contracts are going to be great, and there's going to be no issues. I think the only thing now is how firm can he stand? Because Omar Khan is an excellent human being. He is just a nice dude. I'm sure he's going to be fine, and in a business setting, I'm sure he's, just as aggressive as he is kind. But, Kevin Colbert got the job done, and he let players know, like, hey, man, you're going to stick around. We're going to make this happen. This is why we're going to make this happen. But you got to compromise as much as we're going to compromise. I'm interested to see how those two go. I think that's going to make or break, Khan's start to this GM role. But overall, I think it was a good move. I like the move. Wish they didn't break it. Wish Aditi didn't break it at 10 o'clock at night as I was trying to sleep. But, besides that, it's the life of a journalist.
Yeah.
All right, Donnie, let's talk about OTAs. I just got back from Southside earlier today. I've been there all week watching the Steelers grind. In the comments here, Miguel is 100% right. Najee Harris looks like an absolute monster. And that's, I think, where we need to start. The Pittsburgh Steelers didn't add a running back, and I was skeptical. I was very skeptical. You were skeptical about them not adding a running back. But if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm giving Najee Harris the football every single time we're on offense, every single play, because he looks like, Derrick Henry is the largest human being on the face of the earth. He looks like Derrick Henry. He's as fast as I've ever seen a running back. He's as quick as I've ever seen a running back. This dude just looks like a freak of nature on the football field right now. Twice as big as he looked last season, twice as smooth. He's out here telling coaches. He was the guy's holding the dummies, trying to hit these guys. He went over and he was like, dude, hit me. Hit me harder. I want to be able to throw you away. And then he did. And the guy, he stiff-armed the dude and he took 4 steps back. That's how hard he hit him. It's hard to explain. Najee looks like if he's the leading rusher in the NFL this season, it wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah, I always try to reserve judgment from OTAs just because it's obviously not the regular season football that me and everybody else are going to be able to watch. Excuse me. But we talked about, especially watching Le'Veon Bell go through it from year 1 to year 2, that transition. And how if you can really take advantage of that NFL offseason program and you get your body right and you have all your dominoes in order, yeah, you can be a very special player, especially in Pittsburgh. So the early signs are very encouraging. He looked great last year. So to hear that he's gotten even better and to hear that he looks better too is going to be great with an improved offense around him in pretty much all facets. That's exciting to hear.
Yeah, his thighs last year were huge. This year, they're I get wider by the football season. And, I never thought I thought he was just going to catch my head. No, he has easily caught my entire torso, one thigh. It's remember when Saquon was the talk of the NFL world because his thighs were just ridiculous. Najee smokes those thighs. Yeah, Saquon. Najee smokes those thighs by tenfold. It's disgusting, man. Disgusting. I didn't take any videos, nothing. I'm just sitting there admiring a human being who just is an absolute freak of nature right now. Freak of nature. You could tell, I was looking at pictures of Najee, in San Francisco, where he was, I think he was at the Giants game. He was throwing the first pitch at the Giants game or something.
Yeah.
And he was wearing a long sleeve shirt and a jacket. And I was just like, Najee's looking a little thick there, man. I need to slim up here for the season. Is that what we're going with? And then I saw him in person and I was just like, nah, man, you are just a ginormous monster of a human. And you've put on 25 pounds of pure muscle this offseason. Second year jump is always talked about in Pittsburgh. Najee took a TJ Watt styled second year jump. Yeah. I'm telling, I don't know what the odds are, but if I'm putting the odds on anybody to lead the league in rushing this season, if he could stay healthy and if the offensive line doesn't just completely suck, it's Najee Harris.
All right. Well, let me Well, let me ask you this, because you texted me a little bit earlier today to kind of discuss what we're going to talk about in the podcast, and you brought up something that's kind of like not like irritated me, but like I've been like wanting to know your thoughts on this since you texted me. That you said you had some thoughts on George Pickens, the second round
Oh
pick
yeah,
receiver. Good, bad, like what?
good. Good. First,
Good. Okay.
before we dive into George, though, I do want to answer Michael's question here in the chat about other wide receivers, our other running backs, because we'll forget to come back because that's what we do. And also Durant, because that's who stands out to me the most. Jaylen Warren looks good, but he kind of reminds me like a Doug Martin, the dude out of Oklahoma State, the undrafted guy. It kind of reminds me of a Doug Martin, little dude, like a little hamster, looks powerful, but nothing super flashy. Durant looks very good. Durant looks smooth. He looks explosive. He looks like that guy that, really could like make an NFL roster as an undrafted guy. Benny Snell, we said that the other day. He's looking a little chunky, man. A little too chunky. But I was told today that
Chips Ahoy.
little Chips Ahoy. But I was told today that nobody really cares about what Benny Snell does as a running back. The only reason that they haven't replaced him is because he's really good at pass protecting. And I understand that, especially after seeing that Najee Harris could be a 2,000-yard rusher easy. But through week one, I don't want to really dive into them because there's nothing to really dive into. Like, there wasn't an undrafted guy that really stood out and impressed me. They look very – like last year, Anthony McFarland looked really impressive early. Kalen Ballage looked pretty good. This year, they just look – everybody just looks kind of average. Like, just looks pretty much the same. To George Pickens here. Dude, let me tell you. My expectations for George Pickens were very high. Like super, super high. Day one, rookie minicamp, I was like, yeah, George Pickens looks really good. George Pickens is a super nice guy. Day two of rookie minicamp, I was like, oh, George Pickens is making some plays, man. George Pickens looks all right. Day three of minicamp, I was like, all right, man, yeah, you're still going. Like it. Day one and two of OTAs, I was like, all right, George Pickens is a stud, man. Let's do this. Day three of OTAs. George Pickens is the best wide receiver on the Pittsburgh Steelers, bro. Already. It is ridiculous how good this man is at playing football. We're talking in all aspects. He catches everything that you throw at him. He's fast. He's as fast as Calvin Austin. He's as swift in route running as Deontay Johnson, and he's as tall as Chase Claypool. It's undescribable, man. Like, I've sat there. He caught a pass running across the field. Okay, so it was just like a crossing route. Caught it. He had a cornerback on his hip, and still in OTAs, you're putting a hand on him. You're not tackling him or anything, but you're putting a hand on him, letting him know, yo, I got him. Dude, didn't have an opportunity. The second he caught that football, he was already three steps in front of the defensive back. Took off. This was a 3-yard pass. Took off around the corner, took off down the sideline, and outran anyone who tried at all to catch him. There was at least 4 guys chasing him by the end of this drill. It was unbelievable. And there was like 3 more of those instances where I was just like, dude, this guy is ridiculous. Like, ridiculous. Steal. I don't know what every other rookie running or wide receiver looks like right now. But in my opinion, George Pickens should have been the first one off the board, because that was what I've seen today was nuts.
So what you're saying is get ready for a George Pickens 10-minute highlight reel for his rookie season. Is
10 minimum. Like, everybody had high expectations about Chase Claypool, right? Like, everybody's like, oh, dude, this dude's 6'4". He runs a 4.3. Like, he's 235 pounds. That's ridiculous. I watched Chase Claypool as a rookie, and he looked good. He looked really good. I have never seen a rookie come in here and look as good as George Pickens right now. And this is just OTAs. We don't have pads on, obviously. But, you know me. I like to make strong and usually over-dramatic declarations of individuals. And my over-dramatic declaration through 1 week of OTAs is that George Pickens is already a star. Kenny Pickett leads FanDuel right now for Offensive Rookie of the Year odds. I'd put money on George Pickens before I'd put it on anybody else. Anybody else. If he has a quarterback and an offense that works, yeah, you got defenses that are going to look at Deontay Johnson. You obviously have to take care of Chase Claypool. George Pickens could be the dude that is just left with a second or third cornerback that he's going to make look like a bum time and time again. Yeah, dude, ridiculous.
Yeah, it's only OTAs, and obviously even training camp, we try to reserve some of that whatever substance that wants to make people overreact. But dude, like if the Steelers can get Deontay back on the field and get him to do what he normally does, if they can get Chase Claypool to improve at all, like anything above what Chase Claypool has given us the last couple of years, I will take. On top of what George Pickens can provide, and that there was somebody else in the chat, I need to go back and find it, but with Pat Freiermuth at tight end, just like rounding out the possible like pass catchers on top of Najee catching balls out of the backfield.
Yep.
There's no excuse for these guys not to win games. There's absolutely no excuse, regardless of who's that quarterback, Trubisky or Pickett. Regardless of who's that quarterback, for these guys not to win games.
Yep. It's so Chase has been playing a lot of slot, and he even said, you know, in his interview, like, yeah, I like playing slot. Like I like the idea of having the ball in my hands and being able to make plays from there. And he looks good in the slot. Like he looks explosive. He looks quick. You know, Chase is a dude that in college, he played pretty much all over the field, and he played best when he had the ball in his hands. He looked real good, and he looks real good in this offense. We still got to see what Deontay does, but I really don't have any worries about Deontay.
During OTAs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's working mostly in the slot, actually. Yeah, the three guys out there right now, and you know, I probably shouldn't be telling you guys this, so don't be go blasted all over the internet, but it's usually Chase in the slot to start, with George working the outside and Cody White working the other outside. You know, that'll obviously be Deontay, but Chase looks good in the slot. He does. He just looks like he just looks like a guy that could create space. George looks like an absolute animal anywhere. I don't really have any worry about Deontay fitting into this offense at all. Pat Freiermuth today made a catch where it was behind him to the point where he had to fall over, grip the ball to his leg, did a somersault, caught the football. Effortless. He's a tight end. Tight ends shouldn't do this. They should not be able to. Zach Gentry can't somersault. Heath Miller can't somersault. Pat Freiermuth did it with ease, jumped back up, probably could have scored a touchdown. Yeah, the receiving core is just disgustingly good right now. Calvin Austin looks good.
I was about to ask. I was curious to see like where Calvin Austin kind of fit into that picture, because like to me, and just watching Claypool over the last couple of years, I really wasn't sold on him playing in the slot. Like I didn't think he was like a refined enough route runner. I get the size, and then I certainly get the speed. You know, for a guy like him playing in a slot, but I don't trust him to win those one-on-one matchups with those kind of guys. Hopefully, I'm proven wrong, but I guess that ultimately leads to like, where do you see Calvin Austin fitting in his rookie year?
I see him. I was surprised that Cody White was out there instead of Chase and George on the outside and Calvin in the middle. But I think that's just because Chase is going to play that inside role, and that means that they want George on the outside, and Calvin's probably going to play the inside next to him. There's a lot of different personnels in Matt Canada's offense. It's so much new that's being implemented right now that I'm sure we'll see a bunch of different things. I think Calvin Austin still has a role. He was running with the second team. But really that's like the end of it. And that does leave me some worry. Like Gunnar Olofsky, if I'm saying his last name right, looks like a dude who he looks like an all-pro returner. He stops on a dime. You know, he's got explosiveness. Apparently he can't play wide receiver, and there's got to be a reason for that. But like, you know, there were a couple times where he caught a pass, was running full speed as he caught the pass, stopped on a dime so that somebody could just run through his face, and then he just went the other way. He's got really good twitch.
Would he be expected to be like Pittsburgh's return man, especially with like Deontay kind of having those ball security issues the last few years manning that job?
Yeah, I think Gunner's the dude to just be a return guy. I mean, he's an all-pro returner two years ago or something. I just don't know if he's going to play wide receiver. I think the depth is still like an issue outside of Calvin, but to have four strong guys right now, two tight ends that you could rely on, we still don't know what we're going to get out of Connor Hayward, but you know, at some degree, I think he's going to be implemented into this offense. Man, the offense looks good.
We do have to remember, like, the first week of OTAs just concluded. Like, we have so long to go until we actually figure out, like, what guys are going to be doing what and, like, what this team is actually going to look like whenever they take the field for week one.
Yeah. And I'm sure there'll be change. Like, I don't expect him, especially now, like Sheldon White got added to the front office. There's no way his son's getting booted. Cody White's on the roster. You know, Anthony Miller's fighting for a job. There's a bunch of those guys that are fighting for a job. And then, you know, on top of that, the quarterbacks look good. And just to, you know, make an adjustment here over to the quarterbacks, Kenny Pickett looks good. Like, he looks like a rookie. He looks like a guy who still needs to adjust. I was telling Donnie, I was telling you before the podcast that I think the biggest thing right now is the fact that he's working with the third string guys. So he doesn't have a bunch of talent around him. You know what I mean? Like, Mitch is throwing to George Pickens and Chase Claypool. Kenny's throwing to Anthony Miller and Tyler Vaughns. You know, like, it's a totally different game. And with like two dudes at tight end I've never even heard of. Like, that's who he's working with. So he does look good. The timing's off still, but it'll come. If we're being honest, though, Mitch gives me a lot of confidence right now. Mitchell Trubisky looks like a dude who could play solid football. He's throwing tight passes. He's throwing into tight windows and completing passes. Again, I understand that it's OTAs and we're in helmets and shorts, but if we're being honest, like, he looks like the dude who should be the number one quarterback, and that should make people feel pretty good, I think.
No, definitely. If you signed him in the offseason, you kind of got the feeling that even with a rookie quarterback, especially the first rookie quarterback off the board, like, Mitch would at least be able to compete for the starting job and still have like a leg up over that. Mason Rudolph's already kind of like out of the equation for me. Like, basically, at least for me, it's down to like Pickett and Trubisky, and like everybody who listens to the show already kind of knows my thoughts on like whether or not Pickett should or shouldn't sit, or like if Trubisky should or shouldn't start. So like, ultimately, like, it's gonna have to come down to the preseason and like what these guys actually look like against other teams, like trying to take their heads off.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, things will change, but I'm just saying, like, in OTAs, I think we were all worried about like where Mitch is compared to where Kenny is. And Kenny looks super athletic. He looks like a dude who has a lot of confidence. He looks like a guy who's a first round pick, the whole nine. Mitch just looks like a dude who is a vet. Mitch looks like a veteran. Mitch looks like he's been here. Like, he understands the NFL game. You know, he looks like he's a guy who knows where to throw a football. He's way better at timing. And I think that comes with the game. You know, the longer you play football, the better you are at anticipation throws. And I think that comes. You know, I don't, just to answer some comments here, I didn't trust Mitch Trubisky coming into the offseason. You know, even though I pushed heavy that they should go sign him, I thought he was their best option. Okay. I didn't think that he was going to win them a Super Bowl
for him.
Yeah, because he was their best option. Who was the other options? There were no other options. We were rocking Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder. Like, come. At one point, I was talking Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was their best option. Yeah. There was no other options. There were bad options. It was a bad year to not have a quarterback.
At least with Ryan Fitzpatrick, like, you know, you're getting two really good games of the season. You just don't know which ones you're getting them out of.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, Ryan Fitzpatrick take you to a Super Bowl. They're probably going to lose it. And, you know, you have to start like 0-8 first. But he'll take you to a Super Bowl. That will most certainly happen. But, dude, Mitch looks good, man. He looks like a guy who he's showing to me at least like, hey, you know, I've been here. I got something to prove. I'm throwing tight passes. I got good chemistry. That's all I'm looking for. 1 week OTAs. That's all I'm looking for. All right. We'll talk defense. But first, we got a word from our boys at Manscaped. This is the last one, dude. This is the last boxer read. Oh, man. Dude, I love the boxer reads. If we're being honest, these are ones of my favorite so far, so hopefully everybody else enjoys them too here. Sweaty sack summer is approaching, and it's time for you to prioritize the comfort of your crotch. That's why the kings of crotch comfort, Manscaped, have spent 2 years designing the most comfortable boxer briefs out there. I've had the honor of testing these new boxers, and I could say it's the softest fabric of any underwear. So breathable that it's like gills for your groin. They even trademarked the jewel pouch, so you know it's serious. It's time for you to invest in your family jewels. So let your bulge breathe and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code ALLSteelers at manscaped.com. Donnie, I just said it. I'm going to miss these ones because one, there is no product Manscaped has sent us that is better than their boxers by far, by the greatest things in the world, honestly. And I saved them for special occasions. I'm like, oh, I got a date on Saturday. I'm wearing the Manscaped. No doubt. And two, this is a phenomenal ad read for 10 out of 10. So everybody take it with a grain of salt because they're leaving after this one. Let's say you're on a date and your partner catches that Manscaped on the waistband of your underwear. It's almost guaranteed to raise some eyebrows and act like a billboard on the highway to Pleasure Town. This is thanks to their Lawnmower 4.0, the best electric trimmer for below-the-waist grooming. This trimmer offers skin-safe technology designed to trim hair on loose skin. And outside of just ball trimming, they're now focusing their efforts on helping out your thigh slappers in other ways with the game-changing boxers. These boxers include the Jewel Pouch, a pouch designed to cradle your boys in their own special space, lined with the Forded performance fabric to keep them well ventilated. Basically, just imagine your balls sipping on some pina coladas, chilling on a hammock on some tropical beach. The microfabric is buttery soft and breathable, keeping your cucumber cool. Walk, run, strut. These moisture-wicking boxer briefs without a sweat. The tagless waistband hugs your body without digging in, and it lays flat against your skin to reduce chafing. The front fly opening gives you easy access and makes bathroom breaks quick and efficient. You can choose from an arrangement of designs and colors and sizes from small to 3X for all my guys out there. All you got to do to get 20% off plus free shipping is use our code ALLSteelers at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code ALLSteelers at manscaped.com. Once the Boxers 2.0 touch your sack, you'll never go back. All right. Whew, I'm sweating. It's warm in the attic. Let's talk some defense. Devin Bush. I'll be the first one to admit he was a no-show. He was a no-show at day 3 of OTAs. Not really a surprise at this point. You know, people are traveling to go home with their families for the holiday weekend. No big deal. It's organized team activities. So 2 guys stepped up, really showed, hey, we're looking good. First one, Miles Jack. Miles Jack doesn't count, but Miles Jack looks good. He's been looking good. First one was Buddy Johnson, who I really think is looking like a dude who can make that second-year leap here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a guy who didn't really get an opportunity last year. I kind of felt like his mindset last year was, hey, you know, I'm a rookie. I shouldn't really have high expectations. I think that kind of hurt him. I think this year he's coming in as like a dude who understands he's a veteran now, has an opportunity to actually play. I like how he looks. And number 2, dude, is 6th round pick Mark Robinson, who looks as fast as a running back and as big as a linebacker. It's crazy. I don't know if it's going to work, but I could definitely see why Brian Flores was like, dude, go get this guy and get him on my football team. Those are my 2 dudes that stood out.
Yeah, dude. Apparently in the chat, there's a whole lot of DeMonte Casey hype. Apparently him looking like a starting safety. I don't know if you can confirm that with your own 2 eyes.
I would have to see DeMonte Casey play starting safety because so far he's played cornerback. So I don't know where those reports came from. Look, I could have been wrong. You know, I have to go eat lunch at some point. I could be missing some things. KZ looks cool. You want to know what I like about KZ? and what I respect a lot about KZ is I went to talk to him in the locker room, and it took him 2 seconds for him to say that nobody wanted to sign him because last season he got a DWI in Dallas. And he was like, yeah, man, like, I made a big mistake. It sucks, but I learned from it. And I'm just here to like work really hard. And I was like, what? That's awesome, man. Like I'm all about that life. Like I didn't really talk. It wasn't like an interview. I wasn't looking for a story. I just went up and introduced myself and was talking to him. And, I happened to mention like, hey man, you got signed late in the offseason. And he told me, and, he looks like a dude who is here to work. He is here to work.
Yep.
He has made some plays on defense. A lot of guys have made some plays on defense. I think overall as a whole, the defensive backfield just looks really good. Like Akello Witherspoon looks like a dude who, we talked, Jose, the first time that he came on here and told us about Akello Witherspoon was just like, 1 week you're going to get a guy who's a star. The next week you're going to get a guy who should be cut. And I was really worried coming into the offseason that he was going to go back to his old form. I think he looks just as good, if not better. Like he looks like a dude who understands his opportunity, who knows that he's the guy right now. He looks really good. Levi Wallace looks really good. Cam Sutton looks really good. And they're moving him around the field again, which I love to see. And then you have Arthur Moats, you have KZ moving. Trey Norwood's kind of sticking to safety. I like that. I just think overall, man, I think the defensive backfield looks really, really good for the first time in a while.
Man, like that's so odd to hear as like a Steelers fan, because like I feel like it's always been like the one Achilles heel of Pittsburgh's defense for like such a long time. Like even dating back to whenever they went and got like Artie Burns and like Sean Davis in that draft a few years ago. The streets are also inquiring, the streets being code name for the chat. The streets are also inquiring about DeMarvin Leal and how he's looking.
Good. DeMarvin Leal looks good. He looks really good. I had a one-on-one with Monty Adams today, and I asked him, I was like, dude, because they're locker mates, and I was like, how's DeMarvin doing? And I was like, yeah, you could say he sucks. Like, just don't even act like he's here. And he was like, no, man, like the best thing about him is he wants to learn every position. He's always asking Tyson, hey, how do I do this? He's always asking me, how do I do this? He's also always asking, Isaiah Loudermilk, how do I do this? Cam, how do I do this? He wants to learn every position. And I think that's huge for a guy who came in here kind of uncertain where he was going to play. But, he does look really good. He's big. He looks like a dude who can make an impact early. He's a third-round rookie. So I think at the third round is when you start teetering into like, they need a developmental year. And that's okay. I think that he'll still have an impact. I just think it'll be a depth piece impact. But, DeMarvin Leal, I think he looks very good. And the whole, like, Tomlin said it himself. He was like, nobody ever told DeMarvin Leal that he needs to bulk up. Like, that's all rumors and speculation. And I think that he looks fine. Like, there's no part of me that's like, he's too small. Compared to, Stephon Tuitt's a really big dude who plays defensive end. But I think DeMarvin Leal looks pretty good. I think Isaiah Loudermilk looks really good too. And I think that's a name that people are going to sleep on. But I think he looks really good.
If you had to like box Loudermilk in, and like that kind of sucks to do just because he's like a versatile guy along the defensive line. But like if you had to box him into like one position or like behind one player, like where would that be along the line?
Defensive end. I think he fits defensive end very well. He's a big dude. People want to like make him the next Cam Hayward, and
yeah,
maybe he could be. I think that's where they're going to try to make him sit, is being a defensive tackle. But I don't know. Like, I think he's more athletic than people want to admit because he's so big. He's like 6'7" or something. I just think that he could be like just a mix and match piece. But, Chris Wormley has not practiced yet. I don't know why. I haven't had the opportunity to ask him. I actually walked by him and we were joking about pizza. And then as soon as he walked away, I was just like, I didn't ask him why he didn't practice. I asked him about his pizza. It looked really good. Like, it just looked like some good za. And I was just like, man.
Some good za, bro.
And
who doesn't love
like,
a good za?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if the cheese was dripping, I was just like, bro, where'd you get that za? And then we
The
start
Goofy
talking.
movie.
And it looked like Goofy movie pizza. Dude, and that was it. He was like holding it up, and I was like, oh, I was across the room just like, I'm so hungry right now. That's so good. I was just sipping my 4th coffee of the day. But I don't know. Isaiah Loudermilk is a dude that I think could be versatile still. I don't know if he has a dead set spot, but I think dude, he just looks confident. He looks really confident on the field.
Man.
And I think, yeah, right. Like, I think that for a guy that people just didn't have high hopes for, like, they need that. You know, they've never had that piece where it's a depth piece that could do it all. And I think they want DeMarvin Leal to be that guy. But besides that, it was Tyson. Tyson was the last guy that they've had that could fill in everywhere and play those spots. But Tyson's going to play nose tackle. Steelers freak, my man. Agabagoo. That's all I got to say. Born and raised. Basically straight out of Italy. There's, I was out to dinner with my girl and friend the other day. She moved to Armenia just out of nowhere, and came back, and she's got all these crazy stories, and she's like, oh no, and no offense, but there's no men like Italian men. And I was just like, I'm 200% Italian. Thank you very much.
Crazy.
That's so. It was say what you want, but I don't know what other questions are in here. What other positions people would like to hear about. But I think overall, dude, the Pittsburgh Steelers look really good.
From everything you've told me today, George Pickens is going to be an absolute monster this year. Najee Harris is going to continue to be an absolute monster. The defensive secondary looks more shored up than it did last year, which is absolutely exciting. Steelers have a new general manager. Going to do a little bit of both with an assistant general manager, Andy Weidel. Phenomenal at scouting. Omar Khan, phenomenal at maneuvering cap space. The two major things you need out of a front office the Steelers now have for the future moving forward. It's a good time to be a Steelers fan.
It's a good time to be a Steelers fan. I think that there are 2 questions here that I would like to answer before we head out. One, Trevor, I know that you missed it, so that's okay, my dude. Kenny Pickett, like we said, Kenny Pickett looks good. He looks like a first-round pick. He looks like a rookie, though. He looks like a dude who still has to work on his anticipation throws. At the same time, he's working with the third stringers, and that's really hard to say, oh, man, like, I'm going to make phenomenal throws working with guys like Gunnar Olszewski and, Tyler Vaughns at wide receiver, because that's really hard to do. So he looks really good. He looks really confident. He looks like the future quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mitchell Trubisky looks like a veteran, and he looks really good. And I think that's the name to pay attention to the next couple of weeks, because as everybody knows, it's Mitchell's job to lose right now. And Kenny will be the guy that takes it, if Kenny keeps playing well. But if Mitch looks good, they're going to roll with Mitch. And I think that's the best way to go right now. The other one before we head out here is Kevin Dotson versus Kendrick Green. I heard a couple of guys say that Kendrick Green looks bigger. He got stronger, which I think was the biggest thing we needed to know right now. Is last year he was getting pushed around all over the place. It's also telling that he said straight up, he was like, my comfort zone playing center last season was a 2 out of a 10. And to me, that was just like, that sucks, dude. Like, if somebody told me go cover women's basketball, I'd pick up on it, but I wouldn't feel real good about doing it, or like go cover cricket. I'd be like, I don't even know what that is, man. But, we're going to figure it out. That's probably what playing center is in the NFL, especially with Ben Roethlisberger behind you, who just had the same center for the last 13 years of his life. It's got to be difficult. Kevin Dotson, he looks good. He's the starter until proven otherwise. Those two are going to battle it out. I think both of them look good. The offensive line is really hard to tell because they don't do anything, like OTAs. There's no physicality. So linemen kind of just do their things on the side. And most of that's just like diving into dummies and doing the,
pass pro stuff.
Yeah. And you're just like, oh man, those guys looked really good. I will say this. I will drop this little tidbit. Him and Dan Moore, if they are the future left side of the line for the Pittsburgh Steelers, give me really heavy Marquise Pouncey, Big Al vibes. Like, they are best friends, dude. Best. After every single play, they're dapping each other up, slapping each other on the butt, head button, every single play. And I think that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers wanted. But, you know, Kendrick's got to prove himself. But I do like it. Like, I think at that point, just to see that is just like, cool, man. Like, you know, the O-line's meshing. Took a year, but
for sure,
you know, they're meshing. So we're feeling good. We're feeling real good. You know, just to the dude going nuts in the chat right now about the Bengals. I hope you came to the right place. I hope you're having a good time in there. We don't got any more. Thank you so much. I think that's going to end it for us today. We'll be back next week to talk more OTAs. The Pittsburgh Steelers are back on Tuesday, and I will have plenty of notes because that's all I do is sit there, sip my coffees, and have a great time. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. And as always, use our promo code at manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. We will be back next week. Peace.